Welcome to Politics Unplugged. I'm Ann Trujillo, and today we are wrapping up 2017, looking forward to 2018, including some of the new laws that take effect tomorrow. 2017 was a year where we saw the swearing in of a new president, Donald J. Trump, taking office nearly a year ago and promising to overhaul health care, immigration, and taxes. And by this time next year, Colorado will know who its next governor will be. Term limits keeping John Hickenlooper from running for another term, but there are literally dozens of people who now want that job. So we have a lot to talk about, and here to talk about these subjects and more, two of our very favorite people, Colorado Democratic Speaker of the House, Crisanta Duran, and former Republican State Representative Amy Stevens. We always bring you two in when we want to talk about anything and everything, but 2017, almost a full year with President Trump as president. Highs and lows?
From my perspective, lots of lows. I think week after week, there are stories that come out that are quite disturbing as it relates to some of the direction that he is going into. When I think about DACA students or children having access to health care, it is truly unfortunate that right now in Washington, D.C., the future of their lives are a political football. I think the American people deserve better. And when we look at the tax reform bill that is going to the president's desk, that bill is going to benefit corporations and the wealthy. And we need to be thinking about how do we make sure that middle-income Coloradans who work hard every day have the opportunity to be able to get ahead, and that is why we're going to be focused on that issue for the next legislative session.
Amy, I'll let you in.
Certainly. Well, I think the idea that we're at the lowest unemployment rate ever speaks to Donald Trump. I also think that I take a different tack on where Crisanta is, because on the DACA issue, I think we actually are at a place, particularly on a bipartisan level, where we would have more agreement than ever before. And so I think actually you've heard Congressman Kaufman, you've heard Senator Gardner, you've heard a number of people say they're coming to the table on it. So, and I do think the best thing to come out this year has been Neil Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. So I'm very hopeful. I'm very proud of Colorado that Gorsuch is sitting on the court, and I think we have a lot to look forward to.
Well, we'll see what happens in 2018 because all of those issues still to be determined. Sexual harassment has been a big issue in all industries, mine included. Are we just seeing the beginning of that? Are we at the tail end? I mean, we are seeing these major payouts that have been kept quiet. What's happening with this subject?
Well, you know, I think this is a turning point in history, and I am thrilled that Hollywood, in a way, kind of was the start of the whole blow-up. Although you're in the entertainment industry, we've seen a number of issues there. I think we are. What I care more about is now where do we go from here? How do we educate from here? How do we make it so that people are not just tried by media, but that legitimate training, legitimate concerns. I know in my company, global company, they immediately went into training and a platform for which you can report even more of these issues, where we have an open door. I don't think it's the end. And I think that hopefully, I hope that we're going to actually start having a more respectful workplace amongst all of us.
Well, we hope.
Yeah.
But Crisanta, I'll let you jump in on this topic.
I think the foundation of the problem here is that there have been actions and rhetoric against women that have become normalized that are absolutely unacceptable and inappropriate. And we are working to address the issue of sexual harassment head on. No woman should ever have to feel like she has to engage in inappropriate behavior to be able to get ahead. And to me, this is about making sure that women are evaluated based on their hard work, their skills, and their qualifications in every workplace. On the 15th, we had a meeting with leadership, Republicans and Democrats who are coming together, who are saying we need to address the culture at the Capitol and also look at how we change our policy so that people feel comfortable coming forward.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about gentrification, the whole ink, coffee, stink, I guess I can call it. What did we learn from that?
Well, I think that we learned that with all of the growth that we have had in Colorado, well, it comes with many benefits. The issue of gentrification and the sign that was used was not sensitive to the issues that people in Denver are facing on a regular basis. There's so many people who feel like they are being pushed out of the very communities that they grew up in because of the high cost of housing, because of other affordability issues, and it struck a raw nerve. And I think that that's why we always need to be thinking about what are we doing to bring forward initiatives that are going to have a positive impact on hardworking Coloradans so they're able to get ahead, so they're able to buy a home, so they're able to afford for their kids to be able to go to college. And that is the root of the issue.
I also think, and I really agree with where Vince Carroll was on his op-ed on the Denver Post. I, too, agree that it was insensitive, and whoever dreamed that up on Inc.'s behalf, I mean, it's very unfortunate. But gentrification is happening throughout all of Denver. And whether you call it gentrification or you call it revitalization or you move out Section 8 housing and then gentrify and then put people back in, right? I think that affordable housing is really our key. But more than that, on the Inc. response, I just want to say something. I understand people coming towards it. I understand people being outraged. But I wish we were as outraged about the 10-year-old girl that committed suicide in Aurora for being bullied. And I really think as we go into 2018, we all need a step back to take a look at bullying behavior, bullying attitudes. And it saddens me that there'll be one family without a 10-year-old girl.
Well, and it goes back to what you were saying, Crisanta, about women not feeling comfortable about being able to speak up and speaking their truth.
Well, and I believe that we need to do everything we possibly can to address these issues head on. You know, it's been the great honor of my life to serve as the first Latina Speaker of the House. But my truth is that there were times along the way that I felt like I had to work twice as hard and be twice as smart to even be considered. And when I talk about that, it's amazing to me the women across the state who have said, you know, I felt that exact same way when I was trying to become an executive in my company, or I was trying to become a partner in my law firm, or I was just trying to get a job that not to break any particular glass ceiling, but to be able to just provide for myself and my family.
Yes, of course.
And so these are the types of issues that are real life stories that we have to make sure that we are always thinking about if we truly believe in equity and we truly believe in making sure Colorado is an inclusive state.
Okay, so we have a minute. I know we could talk about 25,000 other things. Who's going to be our next governor? Anybody?
Oh,
there's so many candidates out there.
Well, I personally would want to see a woman governor, but I think it's anybody's guess. I really do. I don't know where you're at. I think we see so many people diving into this because I think part of this is, yeah, we're all just going to go in there. And there's some very, I think, for example, on your side and my side, probably very qualified people. But I think it's anybody's guess today. Anybody. I think anything can happen and anything can change.
Right.
Yeah.
Crisanta?
Okay. I think on the Democrat side we have an embarrassment of riches. We have amazing candidates. I am very proud of some of the folks who are running. I would tell you the one candidate that I absolutely do not want to see be governor, and that is Tom Tancredo. I think he has a long history of bringing forward divisive policies and rhetoric, and I just don't think his values are in line with Coloradans.
Just give me your top item of what you think Colorado should accomplish in 2018, because we're out of time. So what should be our number one item?
Transportation and infrastructure.
Crisanta?
Working to make sure that hard-working Coloradans have the opportunity to be able to provide for themselves and for their families and get ahead.
Well, we are looking forward to the new year. Thank you both for being here. We'll see you again back here on Politics Unplugged. We'll have you back for sure. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Tomorrow's the first of the year, and with that comes new laws and new rules that we all need to be aware of. The minimum wage increases tomorrow to $10.20 an hour. Under a plan approved by Colorado voters over a year ago, the minimum wage will go up each year until it reaches $12 an hour in 2020. There's also a whole slew of new rules involving the marijuana industry that will take effect as the new year begins. The bills will change everything from training methods and packaging and labeling to how products are tested for contamination. Another new bill deals with sexting. Right now, it's a felony. Under the new rules, kids could be charged with a misdemeanor or be charged with sexual exploitation. Well, I recently sat down with Michael Roark, the DA for Weld County, and talked to him about this new law. Thank you for joining us today. This segment really is for parents and their teenagers, and primarily because sexting is such a big issue in schools, and you've heard this firsthand since you've been going to a lot of school districts in Weld County to talk to students about this. Why? I mean, tell me what you've learned.
Sure.
I guess more than anything.
The biggest thing that we have learned is this is going on in every middle school, in every high school, not just in Weld County, but I think it's going on in every school in the state. So
if parents think their kids aren't sexting, they're probably wrong?
Either their children are or friends of their children are. It is incredibly rampant in every part of the schools. Everywhere from 6th grade through 12th grade, this is behavior that our kids are engaged in.
And so what does that mean when you say sexting?
The way that the legislature defined it in the law that's taking effect January 1st is sending a picture of intimate body parts, genitalia, breasts in females, by electronic means. So either over a smartphone, a tablet, a computer, a laptop, but it has to be sent electronically. And the bill is aimed at individuals, at children under the age of 18.
And to this point, there was only one way to charge anybody caught sexting?
That's right. When I talk about this in some of the seminars that we've done, what I explain is historically we, being prosecutors, have had two choices. One is to charge sexual exploitation of a child, which in layman's terms really means the possession or distribution of child pornography. Or we could do nothing. And historically, prosecutors around the state really have done nothing because of the horrible collateral consequences that go along with that sexual exploitation charge.
And what does that mean, the horrible collateral consequences? What do you mean by that?
What we're trying to educate the kids, the consequences of having an adjudication or being found guilty of sexual exploitation is, it's a felony, first of all. It's a sex offense, so it requires registration as a sex offender with local law enforcement agencies. It automatically and forever precludes a child from qualifying for federal student financial aid for higher education. It precludes possession of a firearm. Military.
So this messes up their life if they're caught at 14 or 12. And what's the youngest where you've found cases?
We have been told by experts that we should be talking to 5th graders. We have not gotten to that point in the presentations that we have done. We focused on 6th grade and up, but our understanding is this is happening with our 5th graders and hopefully no younger than that.
So what does this new law allow prosecutors to do then?
It really gives us a tool for some accountability and for some education. The important parts of this bill are, number one, it is not a sex offense, so it does not require registration. It is a misdemeanor or a petty offense, depending upon the conduct that we're talking about. But it gives us an opportunity to intervene and say to a child, these are the consequences, this is what you're getting yourself into, but at the same time not having all of the collateral consequences that we talked about apply to them.
Can you talk about the mindset here? Because I think as adults, I mean, you know, we live, I think, in a pretty sheltered world where this, obviously phones are a new thing for our kids, but help us as adults understand what the mindset is of these kids. They don't think it's such a big deal, right?
They don't think it's a big deal at all. And frankly, we've had horrible situations around the state and in Weld County in particular where girls, children are putting themselves out there. We had one at a middle school in Weld County where a 7th grade girl was taking pictures of herself and sending them out to boys across the school. Boys that she liked, boys that she wanted to like her. They took those pictures in turn and put them on Instagram. It took 2.5 weeks to get that Instagram page down. So for that 2.5 week period, this girl who wanted to be out there was displayed on social media for the world to see. We know that our kids, particularly our middle school and high school kids, find their self-worth in the number of likes that they have on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. And so they are taking risks putting themselves out there in order to try to get those number of likes that their friends don't have.
So what's the conversation then for parents? I mean, what should parents take away from what we're learning about what's happening in our schools and among our teenagers?
The biggest request that we make of parents is please understand what your children are doing. No passwords to phones, to apps. Pay attention to who your kids are hanging out with. Pay attention to what they're doing on social media and have a conversation with them to hopefully allow them to understand and learn the long-term consequences that this sexting behavior can really have on their lives above and beyond the consequences that we've talked about.
And what about schools? What can they be doing? Because we know it's just commonplace to have a phone in school with you 24/7.
You know, the best thing that I think schools can do is continue the message that we're sending out, which is this law has taken effect. There will be accountability, that the law enforcement officers are paying attention. The school resource officers are paying attention to what's happening with these kids and their phones.
Was this a smart move to change this law in Colorado?
I can tell you our perspective as prosecutors is this was a long time coming. We had worked with the legislature for about 4 years trying to get this law to pass. We needed this tool to have a middle ground to try to help these kids understand what they're doing.
And feedback from parents, students?
From students, I think that there is still, in part, the belief that there's not going to be any accountability had, that they can still get away with it. From parents, you can see their eyes just get as big as saucers when they start really hearing about and understanding the social media tools that are being used, the behavior that our kids are engaged in, the messaging that is occurring over their phones, their iPads, their tablets.
Do you think more kids will be prosecuted now?
I know more kids will be prosecuted. The important part of this law also, though, I don't want to make it sound like we as prosecutors around the state are simply trying to drag kids into the court system and try to start getting convictions. That's not the point. This law very specifically encourages prosecutors around the state to use our diversion programs that many of us already have to divert these kids away from the criminal justice system, but at the same time give them the tools that they need to understand and to avoid the conduct in the future.
Michael Roark, Weld County DA, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. And we'll be right back.